Tonight, you find yourself at the edge of a vast forest where the trees do not grow. They wait. The air is still chilled with the scent of old pine and deeper things earth root memory. The sky is neither day nor night. It is a soft, endless gray like wool soaked in twilight. Ravens wheel high above you in slow spirals, silent as if they too are holding their breath. Ahead, Yggdrasil rises not as a tree you climb, but as a presence you enter. The world tree, rooted in the bones of the beginning, crowned in the stars you've forgotten the names of. Its bark is rough with time, its roots wider than rivers, and when you step toward it, the very ground seems to lean in. You are not alone. He stands beneath the tree where the moss is black and the wind moves in strange loops. Odin, the All-Father. Not as a king, not with thunder, but as a man alone with thought. One eye closed to the world, one open to something far beyond it. He does not look at you. He does not need to. His long cloak stirs at the hem. His hand rests on the hilt of a spear that touches the ground like a walking stick. He breathes slowly, as if trying to match the breath of the tree itself. And you understand, this is not where journeys begin. It is where they are weighed. You feel it in your chest. Something old is stirring, not an event, a question. There are voices in the wind, but they speak without tongues. They are not meant to be understood, only heard. The leaves above don't rustle, they whisper. And the deeper you listen, the more you hear not sound, but space. You step closer, not toward Odin, but toward the root. It arches above you like a stone bridge carved by time. Underneath, the soil breathes warmth and cold at once. Faint veins of gold run along the wood, glowing just enough to feel, not see. Runes are etched there not by hand, but by waiting. Odin looks upward, not at the sky, but into the middle distance where memory becomes myth. His eye doesn't blink. He listens without moving. And then softly he speaks. I have walked every road beneath the stars, he says, but there is one I cannot find with feet. You don't answer. This is not a conversation. He closes his hand around the spear. To know the runes, he says quietly, I must become the silence that shaped them. The wind dips lower, now wrapping around your ankles like cool water. You watch as Odin kneels beneath the lowest branch of Yggdrasil. He does not pray. He prepares. From beneath his cloak, he pulls a coil of rope, thick, dark handmade, each knot tied not for safety, but for remembrance. He places the spear on the moss, not discarded, honored, and then he stands steady, calm, and steps onto the stone root that arches over the dark. Above him, the leaves glow with the light of moons you've never seen. He wraps the rope over the branch, slowly, without drama, as if he's done this before in some forgotten dream. And perhaps he has. You take a breath, not because you need to, but because the world has paused. And Odin lets go, not of life, not of death, but of everything in between. The rope tightens. His body swings not in violence, but in stillness. His eye remains open. His cloak does not flutter. The tree accepts him not as burden, but as seed. And then the wind returns. But now it is slower, lower, like it has passed through bone. You sit beneath the hanging god, not in fear, not in grief, in understanding. He is not dying. he is becoming the question. Above you the branches creak, not in strain, but in welcome. Runes drift like smoke from bark and root. They swirl once, twice, and then fade. Odin does not struggle. He listens. For the first time, the forest exhales, and somewhere beyond the sound, a raven cries not as a warning, but as a farewell. If this myth is already beginning to drift through your thoughts like fog through ancient stone, you're not alone. And if these quiet stories bring you peace, feel free to subscribe. That way you'll always know where to return when the winds grow still again. The night does not fall. It simply gathers. Around you, the air cools not with wind, but with depth. Like the edge of sleep, it doesn't arrive. It deepens. Odin hangs motionless, the rope taut, but quiet. There is no creaking, no resistance. Only the sound of distant frost melting from stone drop by drop. As time begins to slow its breathing, you sit beneath him, but your presence is soft. You are not a witness. You are part of the hush. There is no fire, no crowd of gods, no shouts, no lightning carved across the sky. His vow is not made in spectacle, it is made in solitude. He has turned his back on glory. He has chosen silence. This is not the sacrifice of a warrior. This is the surrender of a seeker. And beneath Yggdrasil, the roots seem to lean closer, curious, listening, remembering. Far in the distance, though you cannot say if it is above or below, a low hum begins. Not music, not voice, just the vibration of something old, waking beneath the ice. It spreads slowly through the earth, through the stone, through the roots. You feel it through your fingertips in the ground. The hum isn't loud, but it carries meaning, like a name you forgot just before it reached your tongue. And Odin listens. He no longer grips the rope. His arms hang at his sides open. His one good eye does not blink, but it sees, not the world, not the 9 realms. He sees what is buried beneath them, not gold, not bones, but meaning. There in the stillness, he begins to fall inward, not into death, into a waiting. You watch as breath leaves his mouth in slow, pale spirals. They do not rise, they curl, they linger, and in them, faint lines, half-seen shapes like letters you've never learned, the beginning of a rune. Above him, 2 shapes settle into the branches. Their wings are wide and dark. You know their names before they are spoken. Hugin, Munin, thought and memory. The ravens do not cry, they do not speak. They settle with reverence, as if they too know this night is unlike the rest. A storm begins in the distance, but it does not roar. It rolls like thunder trapped in deep snow. The sky does not flash. Instead, it glows soft white against soft black, like breath behind veil. Frost forms at the base of the tree, and still, Odin does not flinch. Each hour that passes feels longer than the last. Time itself stretches like thread drawn too thin. And within that time, something begins to bloom, not in the branches, not in the soil, but in the air. A heaviness made of stillness, a truth not spoken, but offered. You feel it gather around him, a shape not of flesh, but of thought, of sacrifice. The kind no one sees, the kind that changes everything. Odin does not speak it aloud. He can't. The vow he made was never meant to be heard. It was meant to be felt, carved into the space between silence and breath. He has given himself entirely, and now the tree begins to accept. Bark peels back ever so slightly where the rope meets the branch, not as damage, as offering. The sap that bleeds is black and gold. It drips once, then stops. You do not reach for it. You simply watch. And in the far-off corners of the 9 realms, the first ripple moves. A baby stirs in its cradle. A wolf howls without knowing why. A leaf falls from a branch that did not mean to let go. All of it quiet. All of it changed. And beneath it all, the whisper of a promise made in stillness. A vow cast not in fire, but in frost. You breathe, not because the air demands it, but because Odin has taught you how. If you're still here, drifting just on the edge of the tree, maybe you feel it too. The calm between lines, the hush between realms. And if this quiet finds you gently tonight, consider subscribing. So next time, you'll know exactly where to return. The first night arrives not with darkness, but with distance. Colors fade, yet the world does not go black. It pulls back gently, as if the 9 realms are slowly closing their eyes around you. You are still there beneath the branches, beneath the god who hangs like a question never fully asked. But the forest feels farther away now, as though you are dreaming it from somewhere deeper. And Odin, he is no longer suspended by the rope alone, he is suspended in meaning. His form hangs at the edge of perception. You see him, but not clearly. The lines blur like breath on glass. The wind passes through him, not around. This is the first night, the night between. His heartbeat slows, so slowly it might be a drum buried beneath mountains, not gone just deep. And around him the tree listens. The leaves do not stir. They wait. The roots pulse faintly beneath the soil, slow and ancient, like the veins of a sleeping world. You close your eyes, not to rest, but to feel. Inside that darkness you hear things, not words, just movement, shapes shifting behind your thoughts, things you almost remember. A fire you watched too long as a child, a name you never spoke but always knew, the way fog feels before it's seen. This is what Odin now sees, not visions of the gods, not tales of war or prophecy. He sees the fabric that holds it all together, frayed in some places, strong in others, unwritten and waiting. His body no longer aches. The hunger is still there, but it is old now, distant, as though it belongs to someone else entirely. And still he does not speak. Even thought has become too loud. He is learning the language of being. Above him, Hugin tilts his head. Munin blinks once. The ravens do not move. But you feel their minds stirring, not as birds, as fragments of something far older, as watchers of the watchers, and through them the tree sees. The first rune does not appear. It does not glow. It does not burn. It breathes. Just once, a shape part curve, part edge, forms in the emptiness behind Odin's closed eye. It speaks nothing, but the silence around it bends. This is the beginning, not of knowledge, but of knowing. Somewhere beneath the tree the roots curl deeper, a slow spiraling exhale through layers of dirt and stone. And somewhere in a distant realm a frost giant turns in sleep. The world above forgets to count time. Only you remain still. Only Odin remains home. Night does not end. It settles. It settles like snowfall on memory, soft, unmeasured, real only in how it feels. You look up once more, he has not moved, but something in him has. You feel it, not as fire, as gravity, the kind that draws souls toward meaning. This is not the night of death, this is the night of surrender. You let your breath follow his, in, hold, out. Longer now, as if the wind were waiting on your exhale, as if silence was a blanket tucking the world in from beneath. You rest your back against the root. The moss here remembers all things, even gods, even endings, even stories told at the edge of sleep. And though your eyes may close, your mind remains in motion, not racing, drifting, a leaf on slow black water. This is the first night, and still he listens. If you're floating a little, if your limbs are just beginning to forget the day, you're exactly where you need to be. Leave a comment if you're still with us. I'd love to know who's dreaming under Yggdrasil tonight. And subscribe if you'd like to come back. We're always here. By the fourth night, even silence begins to shift. The quiet is no longer absence. It has texture now like velvet pulled across a stone. It breathes against the ear with meaning you can't quite name. You are still here beneath the world tree, but the boundary between yourself and the story has faded. There is no you and no Odin. There is only waiting, only becoming. The world has thinned, not disappeared, just softened, as if seen through ancient ice. You can still feel the tree behind your back, still smell the moss, still hear the heartbeat of the roots beneath the earth. But now you feel something more, a hum beneath the soil. It isn't sound, it's pattern. It runs in slow spirals beneath your spine, beneath Odin's suspended body, beneath the memory of every name that has ever been carved. This is the language of roots, not spoken, not written, felt. On the fourth night, Odin does not dream. He drifts through ideas so old they have no shape anymore, through echoes of voices never born, through what it means to know something without being told. You look up. He has not moved, but something behind him has. The bark of Yggdrasil seems to ripple, not outward, inward, as if the tree is listening not to Odin's vow, but to the space it created. And then a line, not a mark, a movement, one curve drawn not by hand, but by time itself. A rune. It does not burn, it doesn't even glow. It appears in the fold of a branch, in the weave of a root, in the place between two shadows that no light touches, and you understand it, not with thought, with breath. It means beginning. It means memory. It means waiting and waking, and what happens before either. You do not know the sound, but the shape sits behind your ribs like an old friend. Odin's eye closes. For the first time since he was bound, he rests, not because he is tired, because the tree has opened something, and rest is the first answer. Above him, Hugin and Munin lean closer, not to speak, to listen. They seem smaller now, not lesser, more distant, like the sky has grown wider and their wings cannot reach the edges anymore. The roots throb, once, then twice, not pain, not pulse, just memory returning to the ground. Somewhere in a realm of mist, A forgotten song is sung by someone who does not know why they sing it. And somewhere in the halls of Valhalla, a fire flickers, though no warrior sits beside it. Odin breathes in. The rope tightens slightly. He is not resisting. The tree is adjusting subtly, gently, like a cradle shifting to support a dreaming child. The fourth night is when the mind stops asking and starts becoming. There are no visions, only meanings. You do not see Odin's thoughts. You see his seeing, a bear curled in a cave, the curl of smoke from a torch in deep water, a broken branch that knows it will become soil again. And through it all the runes appear, not in flashes, but like constellations only seen when you stop searching. They are everywhere now, not carved, revealed. You feel them trace across your own shoulders as if the tree is learning you too. The hush becomes thicker. The air takes on weight, not heavy, but whole. And you begin to understand something you cannot say aloud. Some knowledge was never meant to be passed from mouth to mouth. It was meant to be carried in silence, in stillness, in nights that blur the line between ending and beginning. This is what Odin is finding, not secrets, not spells, but the way meaning shapes itself before sound is born. You close your eyes, and the tree hums with you. If you've drifted a little deeper tonight, if you're somewhere between thought and breath, then you're walking the roots now. Leave all in the comments if you're still with us, quietly resting beneath the branches. And if you'd like to return softly again and again. Subscribe. We'll be here. By the sixth night, time is no longer measured. It doesn't pass. It lingers, like the scent of snow in the air before a storm, like a memory you feel before you place it. You sit beneath Yggdrasil, but even the ground beneath you feels farther now. Not gone, just quiet. The silence has grown thick like moss after centuries of rain, and from it, visions begin to rise. But they are not Odin's. They are not yours. They belong to something older than either. A woman's hands wrinkled with age folding cloth by a hearth that no longer burns. A wolf curled in its den, dreaming of a son it will never chase. A sword left in the snow untouched, rusting, but not forgotten. They come one by one, not as stories, as fragments. And then Odin sees. He does not dream. He does not reach. He remembers not his own past, but the memory held inside the world itself. In this silence, you begin to understand the runes do not teach. They reflect. They hold what was never spoken aloud. They carry what was buried beneath tears, beneath war, beneath the names carved into stone. One rune forms behind Odin's closed eye. It is not fire, it is sorrow. Its shape bends inward as if bowing to something it cannot change. It holds the weight of promises broken before they were ever made. Another rune spirals near his heart. It is shaped like part of question, not the kind that seeks answer, the kind that survives without one. He breathes, and with it, the sixth night exhales. The tree groans not in pain, but in memory. The bark ripples above you. A branch creaks once, then stillness returns. In the world beyond the 9 realms, slow, the forge of the dwarves falls silent for 1 full minute. The mead of the gods turns slightly bitter. only slightly but enough for one to notice. A fox pauses mid-step in the highlands of Alfheim and looks skyward, unsure why. These moments, they are echoes of Odin's remembering, because on this night he does not gain knowledge. He feels the cost of it. He sees the choices that built the world, the wounds that never made it into song, the glances between gods and mortals that held too much and said too little, the children never named, the battles never fought, but mourned all the same. Odin's face does not change, but the air around him folds, not with power, with presence, and presence is heavier than truth. A third rune arrives. This one is quiet. It floats behind him where no one looks. Its lines are soft, no edge, no flame. It is shaped like an ending, but feels like rest. You feel it settle in your chest, not as sadness, as stillness, a knowing that can't be rushed. You lie back. The root beneath your spine is warm. Above you the leaves of Yggdrasil do not rustle. They drift, as if floating just above the concept of movement. And Odin, he listens still, not to sound, but to what sound hides. He listens to the place where grief and wisdom are the same thing, and you begin to understand that knowledge is not something Odin sought. It is something he offered himself to. The sixth night continues, but you do not mark it by stars. You mark it by breath, one in, one out, and somewhere a rune is born in the space between. The ninth night begins in silence. Not a deeper silence, just one you no longer resist. By now the hush has become part of you. You wear it like a second skin. You walk within it like fog through pine. You do not try to understand it. You allow it to exist. Above you, Odin still hangs, his form barely visible now, less a body, more a shape in stillness, outlined not by shadow, but by the quiet it creates. Yggdrasil does not groan. It does not move. It waits. The tree has given him all it can. Now Odin must receive. The wind has stopped whispering. The ravens have gone. You don't remember when they left, only that the sky feels larger in their absence. Even the roots beneath you have settled, as if the great pulse of the world is holding its breath one last time. And then from somewhere deep within the hollow of the night, something flickers. Not light, not yet. Just the intention of light, the thought of warmth before fire, the first curl of smoke before the first spark is born. And in that flicker, Odin stirs, not his body, his being. The stillness around him bends slightly like water touched by the wind. Another rune forms, but this one does not linger in the branches or roots. It forms behind his ribs, a flame without heat, a letter made of breath. It is not meant to be read. It is meant to be known. This is the final rune, the one that teaches nothing, because it doesn't need to. It has no edges, no lines. It is the pause before all things, and Odin accepts it, not as gift, not as reward, as truth. The truth that wisdom was never about mastery or clarity or certainty. It was about stillness and cost and surrender. He closes his eye, and for the first time he falls, not from the tree. From the search, the rope unwinds, not in haste, but in peace. It loosens like a thread at the hem of a dream. His feet do not strike the ground. They touch it soft as ash, soft as snow falling in the dark, and the earth does not shake. It exhales. You feel it in your chest. A long breath drawn from the center of the world, and Odin breathes too. He is no longer the same, but he is not different either. He has not become a god. He has become a witness to the silence, to the runes, to the self he left behind on the first night. A faint glow appears around him, but it does not light the forest. It warms it, as if the story itself has remembered how to feel. And still, he does not speak. There are no words for what was given, no language for what was felt. Only a presence that will carry it forward in every raven that flies, in every flame that bends, but does not break, in every name whispered at the edge of sleep. Odin looks upward once, not to seek to thank, and Yggdrasil, ancient and still, responds not with voice but with memory. And in the air just above the frost the last rune dissolves. Not forgotten, understood. Morning does not arrive. It unfolds like a slow breath after weeping, like light slipping under a door, not knocking, just appearing. You sit beneath Yggdrasil, and the forest no longer looms. It cradles. Everything is quieter now, but not the kind of quiet that forgets, the kind that remembers gently. Odin stands again. His cloak is still torn, his hands still raw from rope, but his posture is new, no longer burdened, balanced. He does not glow, he does not shine. But around him the air no longer recoils. It leans in. You don't know how long you've been here. You no longer count in nights or hours. You count in silence, in breaths that stretch, in the space between runes. Odin looks down once at the place where he hung. The moss still holds the shape of his shadow. The rope still hangs frayed, but neither call to him any more. He walks past you, no nod, no greeting, just presence. And somehow that's more than enough. His steps do not disturb the earth. They soften it, as if the roots know he returns not as a god, but as someone who has touched the underside of knowing and survived. A breeze returns, not fast, not cold, just real. You follow it with your eyes. It moves through the branches, over stone between roots. Carrying nothing, carrying everything, Odin walks the edge of the glade. His spear waits there where he left it. He picks it up not as a weapon, but as a memory. And the moment he does, the ravens return. Hugin, Moonin. They do not land. They circle once as if relearning his shape, as if seeing him for the first time. And maybe they are, because Odin is no longer just the Allfather, no longer just the Seeker, no longer just the King. He is the space between questions, the rhythm between roots and flame. He walks to the edge of the tree. You rise, you walk beside him, not as God and follower, but as one silence walking beside another. The path behind you is no longer dark. It glows faintly, not with magic, with memory. And when Odin steps beyond the final route, he does not pause. He does not turn. He knows, and so do you, that this journey, this silence, this hanging between death and breath was never about power. It was about permission, to feel, to know, to be still long enough to become. The forest behind you does not close. It stays, always waiting for the next question, the next name, the next night. you breathe one final time beneath the tree. And in the far distance from a place no wind touches, a single rune flickers, then folds itself back into silence. If you made it here, if you're still breathing with us through the quiet thank you. This was Odin's 9 nights, and perhaps in some soft way they became yours too. Subscribe if you'd like to return to myth again, and leave a to let us know you walked all the way back into the light. Now, rest. Let the story go. Let your breath slow. Let the sleep find you not in haste, but in hush. We'll be here when you return.